Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. All in crypto here, and welcome back, guys, for the daily cryptocurrency market update. If you are finding yourself on this channel for the first time today, consider becoming a subscriber because we drop an update just like this one every single day at 1 p.m. UK time to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And that is exactly what we're going to be attempting to do in this video. We are fastly approaching 2024, and there's many things directly set to impact the cryptocurrency market during that year. One of the main events, of course, is the halvening for Bitcoin. And on top of that, we also have a very high likelihood of the first approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF within the United States. Now, we have spot ETFs in Europe, Canada, Australia. We are just waiting for that last domino to fall, which, of course, is the US. And this, in my opinion, is going to cause a real supply shock. You have these two supply and demand factors coming at a similar time. Of course, a Bitcoin spot ETF has to be backed by Bitcoin, which means that the likes of BlackRock and the other 14 applicants for a Bitcoin spot ETF actually have to buy the Bitcoin to back the ETF, just like with all the iShares projects, all the indexes, which is why BlackRock's actually the largest holder of most things, is because they facilitate ETFs, spot ETFs in the stock market, and also gold ETFs and all these other things. But you're going to have a huge demand from BlackRock and these other facilitators of ETFs. We're going to dive in and start the video off with a clip of the Valkyrie CEO actually talking about pension funds and insurance companies that are interested in Bitcoin that will be able to access it through these ETFs. And then, of course, you've got the halvening, and miners are the net largest seller of Bitcoin. And their supply is about to get halved. So the new supply of Bitcoin is about to get cut in half. So we're going to start off with a video from the CEO of Valkyrie. We're going to look at the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges. We're going to look at the halvening. We're also going to be talking about an issue that Bitcoin is currently suffering right now due to ordinals and a bunch of other things, which is the sort of transaction fees and the blockchain being clogged up. And I think that this is going to lead to the rise of a potential fork, an institutional fork of Bitcoin, so they can facilitate all of this in their own version of Bitcoin, but maybe correlate it with the main chain or some sort of a layer two. And then we're going to be talking about sort of the broader macro, going back and looking at obviously last week's pivotal moment, which was Jerome Powell really giving the markets a green light. So without further ado, guys, bit of a long intro, but very exciting, interesting, and intricate video we've got for you. Let's dive into it, and let's start off with a clip from the Valkyrie CEO talking about Bitcoin more broadly.
What do you think BlackRock's move to file an application for spot Bitcoin ETF signals to the industry and about crypto? Does it perhaps show people that there's growing interest and acceptance in Bitcoin from institutional investors?
It really does. What that signals to me is that they're getting demand. I don't think BlackRock is going to do something because they're uncertain about the demand that they're getting. And of course, BlackRock and firms like that are very large. Not only are they catering to a retail or a financial advisor audience, they're catering to pension funds and insurance companies. So when you're getting demand on that side of the institutional market, it's really what prompts you to start launching products. So we believe that insurance companies, or we know for a fact, insurance companies and pension funds are looking at Bitcoin as an investment.
And there is no doubt in my mind, absolutely, that they are doing this. If you understand how portfolios are structured in the traditional financial world, they diversify to basically reduce risk, but increase exposure to gains. And actually, I think Bitcoin is going to find itself with the likes of a spot ETF, giving the whole industry a green light, really, as a part of most portfolios, even if it's to the tune of a couple of percent. I actually think it might be more than that for certain portfolios. But pensions will likely invest in it. We've even got provisions for banks' balance sheets holding crypto that came out of Europe. There was an entire paper written by the ECB on that. It's very interesting. We are in this kind of infancy stage as an industry where we're yet to even be recognized as an asset class or even regulated. And with that, there are, of course, teething problems, just like with everything. The internet at one point came under real scrutiny, and so did computers. Blockchain's going through a similar sort of renaissance and is ultimately going to lead to the revolution that we all know is here. So next year is going to be extremely interesting. When you look at the what an ETF, what a Bitcoin spot ETF is going to cause from a demand point of view, all of these ETF applications, and let's dive in and take a quick look at them. You know, these are some of the people that have filed for a Bitcoin spot ETF, and there are many more. And you can see BlackRock, ProShares, Hashdex, of course, ARK, Invesco, Valkyrie. You know, these guys, of course, Grayscale, Schwab Crypto, have all filed for VanEck, Bitwise, ProShares, an ETF. And these guys are all going to need to back that ETF with actual Bitcoin. And there's going to be many more that will follow suit. And then there'll be products, leverage products, all kinds of things that's likely going to come as a result of this. But the kind of first domino, the first hurdle to overcome, of course, is the spot ETF. And the interesting thing, what's also taking place next year, which we haven't spoken about in a while, but this is really how I started my career off in crypto, is looking at the 4-year cycle theory, following it and positioning accordingly and doing very well from that. But if you look at this is probably the longest chart that we can access, goes right the way back to 2011 for Bitcoin. It's the Brave New Liquid Coin Index, which they've just changed to the Bitcoin Liquid Index. You can see that we are in April expected to have a halvening. And this is where the supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half. Now, miners are the biggest net seller of Bitcoin that there is, period. Okay, they are now going to be cut in half, and the new supply of Bitcoin is going to basically be reduced at a time where there's going to be an unbelievably hyped demand, with Bitcoin getting a kind of green light as an asset, essentially. So next year, 2024, I absolutely believe you are going to see some pretty explosive price action for Bitcoin. I think it's going to go to new all-time highs in 2024. And ultimately, we've got some interesting price predictions here from the likes of Tim Draper, calling for 250K in 2024, Tom Lee, 180K, Arthur Hayes, 70K, Kathy Wood, 1 million. We can kind of just ignore Kathy. Pantera Capital, 148. You've got Adam Black calling for 100K. You've got JP Morgan, 45K. I think they're a little bit low ball in that. You've got Novogratz at 500K. You've got Standard Charter at 120, and of course Robert Kiyosaki at 100. I think, in my opinion, I think 100 and above is actually quite probable given everything that's taking place and kind of where the industry is. And the whole industry will benefit from this. So the halvening isn't too far away at all. What are we? January, February, March, April, 4 months, just over 4 months away from the Bitcoin halvening. And of course, you can see that the real bulk of the bull runs has came after this, to the tune of potentially 390 to all the way up to 540 days is usually how long things rally for. We're expecting the same thing to play out. And this coincides with our lagging rates, the dollar, the direction we think it's going in, the broader macro. All the stars really are aligning, and hopefully, you guys are doing well from it. We had an altcoin in the Patreon this morning that we've been holding for a while, and we were getting in towards the sort of 3 cent, 4 cent area. That is now, hit 15. And that's in the space this year. If you look at the returns we've provided, and do consider becoming a Patreon, guys, I do think it's a great investment to spend on yourselves. We've exceeded, I think, all expectations this year from an investment point of view. So do get on board with that, unlock my portfolio, get access to courses and of course, meetings with myself. We are currently doing a one-to-one before the group gets that large that I won't be able to facilitate that. So do take advantage of that. The other thing that I was talking about is Bitcoin on exchanges, and let's go over and take a look at this. Now, you can see that the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges only is at 1.8 million, which is a lot of Bitcoin. It's a lot of money. However, when you give the demand, institutional, retail, and you account for the fact that the supply is getting cut in half, and a lot of this Bitcoin is locked up in various means and is likely going to continue to be taken off the table, you've got a very basic market principle, which is supply and demand, which I think is really going to grip the entire industry next year. We really are expecting a very explosive year for Bitcoin. We are having some issues at the moment with Bitcoin in regards to the high gas fees. It's not gas fees, the high network fees. Because of ordinals and things like this, it is really sort of slowing down Bitcoin. It's clogging the network up. And a bit of a take of mine is I actually think you are going to see an institutional fork of Bitcoin. So I've gone down the Bitcoin Cash rabbit hole many times, and you know, it's a very polarizing thing. Is Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin? My personal opinion is that it kind of isn't the original Bitcoin, which we have today as Bitcoin, but it's a fork of Bitcoin essentially. I think due to these issues, due to the high fees that are likely going to get higher, certainly when we're in the midst of all this, and the slowness of it, you're going to have an institution fork Bitcoin. And I think this is going to provide a really interesting environment moving forwards. We've said this and we're going to say it again. We love Bitcoin, but Bitcoin maximalists are the most confused individuals in the room. I don't know whether it's arrogance or ignorance to honestly look at a technology and think it only has one use case. You know, it really does baffle me. And they're smart people. You know, I've spoken to many of them, had arguments with many of them. So we're expecting a very bullish year. From a Bitcoin price point of view right now, technically, I don't really have much to go off, if I'm being honest. I wish I could say, okay, I think it's going here next, or I think it's going here. But to be quite honest, our target for this year was 42K that was predicted and projected from an inverse head and shoulders. We do have maybe slightly higher targets with a bull flag. I would have liked to see 48K get reached and then a rest, and then we could set up some sort of broader head and shoulders that might give you that 150K projection. But one thing that we do know is we are now in an uptrend. This is broken out of our stage 1 base into a stage 2. So we do expect higher prices for Bitcoin. Many of your altcoins broken out, having a bit of a harsh pullback today. But ultimately, you know, we do think things are going much higher. You're going to get pullbacks along the way. Does it need a rest here? Potentially. But, you know, higher prices are on the table, and hopefully we get technical patterns that set up. To finish on a little bit more of the kind of broader macro, today, we actually have Morgan Stanley's Mike Wilson turning bullish. Now, this is huge because Mike Wilson has been probably one of the most bearish analyzers of the markets for a hell of a long time. And he quotes, with Powell not pushing back on the easing in financial conditions, equities appear to have the green light to ramp higher. These are some comments that have also been reiterated from the likes of BlackRock. So, to round things up, we are expecting a really exciting 2024 for, of course, Bitcoin for the reasons that we've just looked at, but broadly more for the entire space. We have altcoins that we think are going to massively outperform. We didn't go into things like others' dominance and stuff like that, which is giving us technical reasons to suggest this. And generally, we think equities and other such things are going to do very well because we've looked at this under the context of interest rates, and when they pause, gold does very well, the stock market does very well, and Bitcoin is in an uptrend against both of these, and Bitcoin is that tide that rises and sinks all ships, and you're starting to get really good price action from some of these altcoins. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Have a magic Monday, guys. I'm wishing you all a very successful week. It is the season to be merry, so enjoy yourselves, and we will catch you in the next one. Don't forget to become a subscriber. Like and a comment is always appreciated, and check out the Patreon, guys. You want to get involved in some of these gains, do consider becoming an Allincrypto Patreon. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.